How do we make a determination as to whether or not a school is using, basically as a curriculum that advocates anti-American?
Well, we have
who makes that determination?
Right. So we have the comptroller who will, hold on one second. The amendment requires that the comptroller to certify that the school has not adopted such curriculum. It was a discussion that I think Senator Seliger brought up while his discussions.
Okay, so the comptroller of public accounts makes the determination as to whether or not a school advocates any anti-American rhetoric or ideology?
That is correct.
Does the comptroller has a right to delegate management of this program, is that correct?
Yes, sir, and that is why at that part in the bill, that's how we were able to fit this in.
Okay, and so then the entity that he subcontracts to, then makes the determination?
Yes. So he's the comptroller, he or she is overseeing that, and at that point, and I am thinking that the comptroller can also potentially, as TEA has some of the same standards, help determine whether or not Common Core is being utilized as well.
Oh, I'm not talking about the Common Core. I'm just kind of leery when and of course, I'll wrap myself around the flag around myself just like anyone else. But what we're saying here is that we're allowing the comptroller of public accounts and or his the person that he designates as the entity to make the determination as to whether or not a private school has a curriculum or courses within that curriculum that advocates for anti-American rhetoric or ideology. Can you kind of give me an idea of what the parameters would be? Because again, we're allowing someone to make a determination as to whether or not what's being taught is anti-American. Now, I understand if we're talking about ISIS or something like that, but again, how do we, is that a slippery slope?
And it only is because we're using taxpayer dollars. As Senator Seliger in his opening remarks and his discussions, we're talking about, well, what if taxpayer dollars were going to certain schools that advocate, as you might bring up, ISIS or something like that? I think that is an inappropriate use of tax dollars.
And that's a pretty clear example, though.
Yes, sir.
Of anti-American rhetoric. But there may very well be other content of courses that may very well be put forth that some Texans may not view as anti-American, but a part of history that's being taught. Now, again, these are private schools, so I don't know what their curriculum is, but do you think that we're going down the slippery slope? And then we're allowing one person, I assume, to make the ultimate determination as to whether or not it's anti-American, and or we're allowing that person to contract with an agency that will then make that determination. Is that what this does?
Well, I think that the comptroller is elected by the people, so he's not a dictator.
Not to do education.
That's true. He's elected by the people. This is the people's money that are following that child to make a different decision to go to a school, and I think that certainly the concerns of anyone could start a school, and there's also some stopgaps there with accredited schools, and you had asked a question about accredited schools. I actually had a school in my district recently go through that, and that's a pretty tough, rigorous application, and so I think there's a number of stopgaps here.
Well, and we could probably go on and on about this. I'm voting against the bill anyway, so it's no sense me continuing to go.
I appreciate it.
But I wanted to make certain I raised that issue because
I think it's great. I think that Senator Seliger brought up some great points during his opening questions of the author.
Right, but again, I'm just kind of leery when we allow one person, not this body, not the Commission of Education, to make the determination as to what anti-American rhetoric is going to be. But again, you know, I just wanted to raise the issue.
And I have to say, Senator West, too, you know, as it is the comptroller and an elected person, sometimes we let the TEA commissioner make some pretty big decisions who's kind of one person at an agency.
Yeah,
I know that, too.
But now, if you want to go there, we can talk about it. But he's responsible for education.
Correct.
The comptroller is responsible for our bank account. That's a different deal altogether. Those are apples and oranges. So when you have the Commissioner of Education, who we give millions and entrust literally billions of dollars to, that's
we wish
different.
a few more billion this year.
Well, that's another story for another day.
But I appreciate your input.
Okay, well, I just want to make sure we raise that point. Okay.
Thank you.